All right, let me tell you a secret that is not really a secret. People look people up. So if it's an employer and you apply to a job, if it's a curious friend or a family member that's like, hey, what does this guy like do in life? People look people up. It's a reality. And in this video, I want to show you why everyone needs a personal website and why having a personal website is the best way to control what people see, read, hear about you online. As a web agency founder and someone who's worked in tech consulting and has friends in other industries, I can tell you that social media can be good for having that control over what people find on Google, but it is not the end all be all, and it is not enough. And a personal website, given how minimal the investment and effort is to have one, is just the best way to do it. So let's get into the reasons why and how everyone needs a personal website. All right, first things first, what is a personal website? Essentially, I've read through a few definitions and this is my take on it. A personal website is a website with information about an individual versus a company, organization, or entity. So for example, Nabil, I run a web agency and I have a website for my web agency. That's a normal website. But as a personal individual who has opinions, takes, a CV, maybe blog articles, maybe a portfolio that is personal to me, I also have a personal website, that's myname.com, for example, and that's the case, with information that pertains to me as a person and not my company. And so that's what a personal website is. And I think no matter what industry you're in, you have to look into having one. All right, so the first reason is SEO. So SEO stands for search engine optimization. I won't bore you with details, but quickly, what it means is when you search something on Google, there's an order to things, right? Like you get search results in a certain order and there's pages on Google. And SEO is working to improve the placement of something in Google search or other search engines. For example, if someone searches up your name now, they might stumble upon your Twitter, your LinkedIn, an embarrassing post from like years ago that someone made about you, maybe an article on your high school website about how you did well playing ping pong, 5 years back. Anyway, that is what we see in search results. And the order that those results are in is, what you try to change or control with SEO, search engine optimization. Now, why I bring this up is that personal websites are really good at ranking highly when someone searches for your name. So this is something you want when you're trying to control the narrative around what people see around you. If you want to show recruiters, if you want to show a curious friend, your portfolio or your CV before they see a post from your high school website about how you played ping pong pretty well, you might want to take control and have a personal website because it is the best and easiest way to rank highly for your name in a search term. So social media is pretty good at this. If you look people up, their LinkedIn might show up often because LinkedIn has good SEO. But I can tell you this as a web agency founder, as someone who's done this for my own name and personal brand, my personal website consistently ranks first or second when people look up my name. And I'm not surprised. This is mainly due to domain names and how they work. So if I get my first and last name.com, and that's a domain name that I was able to get and use for my personal website, Google will automatically show that pretty highly when someone searches my first and last name because .com is one of the most common domain name extensions, and this is literally what people search for verbatim, right? Like word for word. And this will probably be the case for you as well. And let's just be honest, a lot of us when we do Google searches, click on the first, if not the first few results that we see. And so if you can have that control and place something highly that you want to show people when they look you up, why wouldn't you do it, right? And this is the easiest way to do it. So that's reason number one, ranking highly, being the first thing people see when they search you online and having control of that first thing. All right, so in this same vein of control, we get to our second reason that you should be looking into a personal website and everyone needs one. It is your central space for everything you online, and you have full control over it. Let me explain. When you're on social media like Instagram or other personal social media sites, you're posting maybe more about your vacations, maybe about your food. It depends on who you are, right? But often these platforms are for images and less professional textual things. And when you're on LinkedIn, it's the opposite. You're posting about your work experience. You're almost a different person, right? Like a different part of you is there. And so what I like and what I think is great about personal websites is that, especially if it's first in the search results and the first thing people see, it's a great way to introduce yourself as a holistic person before recruiters, friends, whoever gets to like these super niched versions of you on different platforms. Like if a friend gets to your LinkedIn, they might see you as super serious, or if a recruiter gets to your Instagram, you might be too playful there or too vacation-y, and they might not vibe with that. But that might not be the real full you, right? And so with a personal website, you are giving that first impression typically before people get to these other platforms, especially if it's like linked in your CV when you apply to jobs, especially if it's like in the bio of your social media platforms. People click on this stuff. And when they get there, they might see a bigger, more holistic picture of who you are. And that's something you can control, right? You pick what you put on this website. And so that's a great reason why I recommend personal websites. Is it's the central internet location for everything you. A lot of people will get to it, not just for SEO, but because, it's something you'll promote. People are curious, like, wow, he has a website. All right, next, something really cool that people maybe assume but don't think twice about is that you can share things dynamically on personal websites. Let me explain. When you have a portfolio on your site, for example, let's say you're a graphic designer, or you're a professor and you have publications, right? Or you're an author and you have different blog articles or different books that are released. What's great about personal website is that unlike a brochure or an email you send to someone, it's dynamic. It can be updated, and anytime someone visits, they know they're getting the most up-to-date content from you as a person. And so what's great about this is that it kind of eliminates having to update different things and different people multiple times as a person with new content and new stuff coming out. So let's say you are a professor and you're getting new publications. Well, now when you're sharing this with people, maybe you're sending an email to someone in your department or someone you're interested in collaborating with, you just send them a link to your personal website and they will know that that's the most up-to-date list of your citations or whatever professors do. If you're a graphic designer, instead of sending a PDF with all your past work to clients, you just send them that link and they'll have access to really the most up-to-date, most relevant stuff that you want to show them. And all you have to do to update everyone, every client, every potential employer, whatever, every time is just add something to your website, because they're always going back to this dynamic, updated place. And that's something great about the internet, right? Like unlike a PDF or a CV or whatever you share with people, it gets updated to everyone at the same time, and you just have to go to one place to edit it. So that's a great reason also. I will say this, of course, is most important for people in tech or in design or creative spaces. If you're a developer, your GitHub could be linked or mentioned somewhere in there. If you're a designer, I'm in web design, right? Like this is something I struggle with, is having case studies. If you're in consulting, proving business cases or examples of past work. It's just great. You send one link every time, you know it's updated, and you control the narrative. And then you can also get analytics on that. You can see who went and clicked on those links, who checked out what. Now that's a bit more advanced, but for those tech-related, design-related jobs, it's a great way to showcase your skills because you're doing a website for yourself, which is a brand that you're supposed to know really, really well and that you're supposed to sell really well. I mean, it's you, right? Like if you can't sell yourself, how are you going to sell or design for or develop for other companies? And so it's a great way, great case study. You have all the information you need and it's for you, and it's a great way to showcase your skills indirectly too, if you're in those fields where a website is a good show of your work. All right, this one is for those fields that aren't techy, and it's a side note a bit. A personal website helps you stand out, to be honest. In those sectors or fields where, it's not super tech heavy or super creative, it's maybe not that common for a lot of people to have personal websites. And it can be impressive or cool, or even just, cool to have one. Having on the top of your CV, your name, lastname.com is curiosity inducing in some ways. I'm sure you can relate to this, but if you go to someone's Instagram bio and they have a website which is like firstlast.com, you kind of want to click on that, right? Like it's something that creates this mysteriousness in us people. It's like, oh, what does this person have to show and what did they create? And it says a lot about a person. And so in those industries, especially where it's not common to be tech related or creative, it can be really good for standing out to have a personal website. All right, now let's get into professionalism. I am a person that is not for formality's sake. Like, I don't like wearing a suit if I don't have to. But when it comes to professionalism in things like job applications, in things like being a professor and applying for a professorship or applying for a scholarship and stuff like that, regardless of the case, if you want to give off a professional image, nothing does that better than a personal website. Because there's different things you can do when you have a personal website that are just super professional, super well presented, that you couldn't do otherwise. One example is having an email address that is at yourdomainname.com. Having those can be really cool, especially if you're working with clients or if you're in a professional setting. It shows that you've been intentional about how you are presenting yourself. And it shows that you've done the work of summarizing or curating content about you in this one place, presenting it decently to people and making their job easier if they're trying to learn more about you. So it presents really well and professionally also. Okay, now let's talk about social media versus personal websites. I think everyone should have a profile on most major social media platforms. It's just good to have. You don't have to use it every day. And there are some drawbacks to it, like wasted time and things like that. But where a personal website shines versus social media that is curated and updated frequently is first, customizability. You can customize your website so much more than you could ever customize Facebook, Instagram, even LinkedIn, right? You can add different types of content, video, imagery, whatever. You can format it in different ways. You can, you're not at the mercy of any character limit, format type, presentation type. You're not even at the mercy of being in a feed with a bunch of other people, right? The format is up to you, and that is something that is unique to a personal website. Next is privacy and control. There is concerns around privacy with being on social media, right? When you have a personal website, it's different. You are the one deciding what goes on there. Comments, likes, they're rarely there. And if you have a blog, maybe you have comments and stuff like that, but you control what's there. And so there is this level of privacy that's just not there in social media that you can control and have on your personal website. And lastly, it is future-proof. I'm not saying Instagram is going to disappear tomorrow, but there's always a dependence that you have when you are on these social media platforms to whatever their rules or regulations are. If you have built a nice audience or network on LinkedIn that comes to your profile often for updates on case studies or what you've been up to, that's great. But if there's a problem with LinkedIn tomorrow or something happens, you get hacked, you are kind of at the mercy of the platform. On your website, that's different, right? It is your website, your personal space. You really have full control, and it's future-proof. No matter what the trendiest platform becomes, your website will still remain relevant. Now, I want to end on two things. First is how you have nothing to lose. Honestly, personal websites are a small investment that yields tremendous results, whether it's effort and time that you put in to do it yourself, and I'll maybe make a future video about this and how you can do a basic personal website yourself, or whether you invest in it with a company. We've done projects that for personal individuals that wanted personal websites at my agency, Nav Design, that have cost maybe half or a quarter of what a company website would cost. But it's minimal investment compared to what you get out of it. And so you almost have nothing to lose. Maximum you lost a few hours designing the site on a DIY builder. You paid $10 a year for your domain that you bought for the website. And so it's a really minimal investment. The next thing I want to talk about is long-term potential. Now, this isn't for everyone, but it's worth noting and mentioning because I know a lot of you might be thinking about this. Having a personal website is an avenue for future growth and improvement that's just tremendous in so many industries. You can build an audience, you can collect emails for a newsletter, you can monetize, you can have ads on your site, you can sell merch, maybe not merch with your name, but I don't know, you can sell things, you sell courses, books. There's a lot you can do to monetize, grow professionally, grow personally through a website. You can have people start reaching out to you for press inquiries, for collaboration suggestions or ideas. And a personal website can be just a catalyst for all of those things in the long term. And so investing in it early on, especially with this minimal investment, can be a great idea. Even if this isn't what you're aiming for, it can be the base or the building block for that in the future. And the last thing I will say is it is dynamic, it updates. Like, you can start with something that's not amazing or that you think isn't great and just go from there. It's just, you really got to start. And it's a continual effort. Like, I literally have things that I feel always behind and that I didn't put on my website. And I'm always like, do I want to improve in it? And that's just the way life works, right? And a personal website is just so cool because it gives you that control and everything we talked about over what people are seeing, reading, or hearing about you online. And so with that said, I think it is time for me to go improve my own personal site, see what I can tweak there. I hope I convinced you that it is for everyone. Bring this up in conversations. Like, if you have friends, family that you want to help out, bring this up, just suggest it to them, have them start looking into it. It is easy, it is worth it, and it is just so important, especially nowadays, whether you want to stand out, just look professional, or look cool to people, and have control over what they're seeing. So best of luck, and thank you for watching.